My name is Brian, I'm a recovered alcoholic. Let's open this workshop to set aside prayer. First, let's do a minute silent meditation for each one of us to invite the God of our own understanding, or maybe a sick and suffering alcoholic that we're thinking about. Well, let's just take this moment and think about that, and then we're going to follow it with the set aside prayer. Set aside prayer. God, please help me set aside everything I think I know about myself, the 12 steps, the big book, the meetings, my disease, and all spiritual concepts, so I may have an open mind and a new experience with all these things. Please let me see the truth. Amen. So, again, my name's Brian, a recovered alcoholic, and I just wanted to go back and talk about the willingness. Again, be willing to believe, like in step 2, before we believe. So we got this process that we got to do something first. So we come into step 6, and but before I go into step 6, I kind of want to just review a little bit of that prep work that we did right before 5, because to me that was the most amazing work. Was really preparing me for that step 6. We I explained what to do in 5 and review those questions in meditation, and then to make a list of things that you found in your inventory that were objectionable, which is unwanted. To me, I like to look at step 6 as sort of like another surrender, kind of like similar to 3, right? Except this time, instead of me surrendering my thinking and my actions over, I'm surrendering over these defects, my motives, my attitudes. There's a lot in there. Before I start this, I want to do a reflection here. Read a little reflection. If anybody wants a copy, just let me know. It's only in the naming and accepting our brokenness that we can be healed, can be redeemed. It is in facing our shadows that we are transformed. Asking ourselves the right question is more important than prematurely being given the right answer. It is the cutting edge of the right question that renders the veil to truth. So I personally like to sponsor. When I sponsor people, I don't like to give them the answer. I really like to kind of work like that and let them figure the answer out by giving them questions, and that's what we're doing in recovery. We're facing the shadows that we are transformed, right? It isn't facing the shadows. It's facing our past. It's facing our, the things we didn't really want to look at. I like to think of, I used to be afraid of what's in the shadow. I no longer am. I'm going to say the set aside prayer, and I'm going to change it up just a little bit. God, please let me set aside everything that I think I know, about myself, my disease, my addiction, the 12 steps, and especially you, God, in all spiritual concepts, so I can have an open mind and new experience with all these things. Help me see the truth about my character defects and become entirely ready to have them removed. Amen. I'd like to add that little part in there, right? So I can see my truth in them. And that's the point of step 5. Hopefully you're able to see your truth and your defects, your motives, your behaviors, even your beliefs. There's a lot in that step 6. I'm going to read it out of the book here. Again, at the bottom of page 75, for me, the prep work was what are the things that I found were objectionable? Objectionable means unwanted. And so when I end step 5, I kind of make a list, and that list comes from my 4th column of my inventory. And I distill them down to the core defects. Sometimes I ended up with a whole bunch, like 15 or 20, right? And then I just sort of distilled them down to like 4 or 5 because they all stem. If you think about it, what it say in step 3, right? Selfishness, self-centeredness. That is the root. That is the root. And then driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. So the root, selfishness, self-centeredness, that's the root. And there's a whole bunch that stem off of that, So when I distilled them down, at first I had probably 15 or 20. I made a list, and if you read step 6 in the 12 and 12, it talks about making a list. So I made that list at the end of step 5. And all these things I just didn't want to be. It was almost like when I first came into AA and doing step 1, I don't want to drink anymore. Like, I don't want to be this person that I am. I'm really disgusted at what I've become, I think everybody else was too. It's sort of that place in step 1 that I get to that I feel like I'm at again, but a different step. Because now after doing my 5, I feel like a part of me felt like I kind of puked all over the table in front of my sponsor because it wasn't anything really. It wasn't like, this is how great I am and these are all the great things I did. Heck, it was quite the opposite, right? This is my motive, this is my conduct. These are the way I treated people, and a lot of it was retaliation, And so I knew when I was going to hurt somebody on purpose. I knew precisely when I was going to do it and how I was going to do it and what I was going to say that would really hurt them. Not necessarily putting my hands on them, but I knew my words could be like daggers, and I did things on purpose to hurt people. I absolutely did, to push them away, to get them away from me, So when I put that stuff on the table, I didn't feel good, but the steps are not here to make us feel good. It's to set us free. He talks about an arch that we should walk through freedom, right? It doesn't say, but you're going to feel good. It doesn't even talk about that in the 5th step promises. It says we could be alone at perfect peace and ease. Feel good, right? But I'm starting to feel something because I'm starting to have a spiritual experience. So something's starting to happen on the inside because I'm clearing away all these blocks now, So I approached step 6 with the list, and I'm at this point where I don't want to be this person anymore. The person that I revealed to you in my inventory, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to go around hurting people. I'm changing, right? Everything, remember I said in the beginning, what? This whole recovery thing is about change. And I don't want to be the person that I was when I came in here, and I don't want to be the person that I, each inventory, I don't want to be the person that I was before an inventory, because I don't want to keep making those same mistakes. That would be insane, right? That's what insanity is, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So it's all about change. So it's about me looking at my mistakes, looking at my inventory, and going, I don't want to be that person. So what do I got to do to change? I can't walk around being angry all the time because everybody's going to know I'm angry and no one's going to want to be my friend and I'm going to be alone. You see how that anger just isolates you, And if I'm afraid of people, that's going to isolate me too. The top of 76, it says, if we can answer to our satisfaction, it means that when we answer yes to all those questions that we just went over, I think it was the 5 or the 8 questions, whatever it was, in the meditation, and ask those questions, and if I can answer to the satisfaction. So, basically, I'm going to answer yes to all those questions. Are the stones properly in place? Yes. Is the foundation solid? Yes. Solid step 1, right? Actually, have I tried to make mortar without sand? That would be no, right? I'd made water. That goes back to the foundation. Are all the elements that we got to add into the foundation to make it solid, to make it into concrete? Do we have it all? Because our foundation has to be solid like concrete so it doesn't fall apart. Because we're building a structure, and this structure has to be solid. I like to look at, you remember that story, what is it, Goldilocks and the Three Bears? I'm going way back. Way back, right? Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You remember, I think it was it Goldilocks and the Three Bears? Hold on. I might be getting the story mixed up. But it was about them huffing and puffing and blowing the house down, and the first house blew down. Was that Goldilocks and the Three Bears? I might be wrong on that, but yeah, I think you might. I know I'm hitting the memory there, Sean. I can't remember what it was, but the last one was the structure was solid and it couldn't blow down. I can't remember. I might have messed that one up really bad, but I think there was three, and they huffed and puffed and it blew down, but the last one, it was solid and it couldn't fall down. That was the whole point of it. I know. Now, if someone can remember that story, let me know. It's probably not good. Yeah, Sean, because Sean's got kids, so he's probably, but I thought it was Goldilocks and the Three Bears, but I don't remember that because, it's been probably 20 years since my kids were really small, because they're all in their 20s now, but you guys understand the gist of it, though. All right, what do you got, Sean? Code the Three Little Pigs. Oh, the Three Little Pigs. I knew it was three in there. Okay. So we got to build the structure. Can't be built of sticks, right? I think the first one was build of sticks or something like that. We got to make sure we're building it concrete. That's what we're talking about here. He's talking about concrete. Mortar is concrete. Mortar without sand. And you need like sand, you need rock, you need liquid, you got to mix it together just right to make it super, super hard, right? That's what we're talking here. If we skimp on the cement put into the foundation, and the way we skimp on the cement is by making mortar without sand, right? So when we're talking about, hey, are the stones properly in place, and is my foundation solid? How do we make sure a foundation is solid? We have the proper ingredients put in there into that foundation. You think about it, it's kind of like a review of what we've already done so far in the steps, right? Again, it's going back to the foundation. A foundation is step one. If we skipped on the cement, put into the foundation, and if we tried to make mortar without sand, again, it's kind of reviewing step one, right? Is it solid? Then it talks about, I'm on the bottom of page 75. It talks about, are the stones properly in place? We're talking about the foundation stone, step one, the cornerstone, step two, and we're talking about the arch, which is step three. Got to make sure building something. We got to make sure we're building something here, right? Then we're in step three, to build with me, right? And then it says, have we omitted anything? For we are building an arch to which we shall walk a free man at last, right? It's got to be solid so I can be free. And so it says if we can answer to the satisfaction to these questions, right? And I'm like, yeah, usually when I get here, I feel pretty solid about where I'm at, right? I review the steps. That's why it says review the first 5 proposals. You see, I'm reviewing all the work that I've done so far. It says, returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour, carefully revealing. You see, I'm reviewing everything that I've done up to this point. Everything. Steps 1 through 5. That's why it says, taking this book down from the shelf, return to the page which contains the 12 steps. And carefully, when I'm carefully reading, I'm reading slowly. Right? The first 5 proposals. So I'm reading the first 5 steps, and I'm reading them slowly, and I'm going over them. Is my work, and then I'm answering these questions. Is my work solid so far? Solid, right? That foundation solid, Doesn't say my belief has to be solid, but I sure have a lot of willingness, because it brought me already this far. And faith has brought me this far too. So by this point, I start to believe, right? So I just kind of wanted to review a little bit of that. And then the last question I just wrote in my book at the bottom, I say, page 75, write down a list of things that I found to be objectionable in my inventory, which comes from that last column. So I'm going to make a list. My list will consist of probably more than what's in that last column. I generally sometimes will write in procrastination, in that list, because it doesn't really show up on my inventory. And I do procrastinate putting things off. So by me, putting that in there, I'll also write dishonest, because, that does cover a lot, but I'm talking about being dishonest with myself, right? Because I start to believe my own self-delusion that it's okay to procrastinate and not do it today. I'll just do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow never comes, right? Is that a little bit of delusional with my own thinking, right? Because I have time to do it today. I just don't want to do it. I'll give you an example. It's like, it's been raining a lot, so we have a lot of weeds growing. And the only way for me to get rid of the weeds, I got two options. Go out there and pull them, or spray them with something. So I go out there and I pull them, and it's so overwhelming because there's so many of them. I get about halfway through and I quit. And I go and buy something so I can spray them. So, you see, I go two ways with it, But if I just worked on it a little bit each time when I came home, I would have had it all pulled and it had already been undone. But each time I come home, I look at it and go, next week, right? I'm believing my own self-delusion there that somehow it'll just go away. It's not going to get worse, but it does. See, isn't that kind of the same with our defects, right? It's exactly the same as our defects, because they're going to grow. They're going to grow. So we need to look at that, also in step 10, like continue to watch for them so they don't grow and take over and ruin our, what if we have all this stuff growing in our garden? I like to look at my garden as a spiritual garden, right? And in this spiritual garden, I got all these good qualities. But if I let the defect of character grow, it's going to eliminate some of those. It's going to snuff out those good qualities in me. And this bad quality of resentment or anger is going to come out. And it's going to kill all the good qualities. If you think about it, it's almost like, I was kind of thinking like, when you're in a relationship and you're doing really good and you got all these good qualities, right? You're doing all these good things, and then you get angry and you can ruin all of that in just a couple of words or some of your actions, and you just buried yourself and you just ruined everything that you've been working on for the last few months with just one word, or two words or something like, and just acting out on a defect. That's why we always got to be. I really think that step 6 is becoming, almost like it requires great awareness of oneself. And at this point in time, after you've gone through this process, you're becoming so aware of what you say and do. And you're becoming aware of this emotional sobriety. When you get emotional, I know for me, when I get emotional, and that's when things are triggered, and that's when I say and do things that I'm like, sorry, I didn't mean that, right? When I start to get emotional, and that's what that emotional sobriety is about. Sean has that pause thing, on his arm, right? And I know for me, when I get emotional, that's when I got to pause. Because if I don't, I'll be right back writing inventory again. Right? All right. So on top of page 76, and it says that if we can answer to our satisfaction. So again, I like to change the words a little bit and make this personal. So I changed the we to I and our to mine. So if I can answer to my satisfaction, I then look at step 6. So I'm going to look at this. I like the word. I underlined the word look, because this isn't kind of when I'm looking at something, I'm examining it, right? I want to examine. I'm looking. Looking at something. I'm observing it, right? Checking it out. Right? Is this something I really want to do, right? So I then look at step 6. I have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. The word indispensable means absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary. I circled the word willingness as being absolutely necessary. Are you ready to have total willingness? It's a question to think about in meditation, right? I like to give these questions to really ponder and just really take into consideration. Are you ready for this total willingness? Because it says willingness as being indispensable, absolutely necessary. So it's that total willingness, right? Am I now ready to let God remove from me all the things which I have admitted are objectionable? So am I ready to let God remove from me all the things that I don't want anymore, that I saw that was unwanted, offensive, distasteful, unpleasant, right? I know for me, when I went through my inventory, one of the things I found was unpleasant to look at was how I treated people when I wanted to piss them off. When I was doing something on purpose, I was like, wow, I was such a jerk. Because I did it on purpose to get a reaction from them, right? Let's see what kind of reaction I can get from them, right? Unpleasant. I looked at my behavior and that was unpleasant for me to look at. Distasteful, offensive, unwanted. I don't want to be like that. I never ever want to be like that, to do something on purpose just to get a reaction out of somebody. So am I now ready? So when I change these words to I, it's almost like I'm in meditation. Am I now ready to let you, God, the all-powerful, right? All-powerful, all-powerful. I love that word. I got that word out of We Agnostics. It said you can pick one of those 27 conceptions that you could pick. I like the all-powerful. I like this to be so powerful because it removed the obsession from my mind, right? It's something I couldn't even accomplish and nobody else could accomplish. No human power could have, right? It's so powerful, it removed my obsession to drink when it controlled me for so long, right? And now it's gone. To me, that's pretty powerful to be able to do that. And not only can it do it for me, but it can do for all of you. That's pretty powerful. So I wrote above God, I wrote all powerful. I just like that. I want to believe in something that's so powerful, the most powerful thing that there is, right? Because I'm going to this power and I'm like, hey, I'm ready for now. You remove from me all of the things which I admitted. So all that list I made, all that list that I made, my selfishness, my self-centeredness, right? The root, my fears, my self-delusion, my self-pity, even my self-seeking. Now, I just threw a quick list at you because those are the things that I saw in my fourth column that I come off top of my head. My laziness, my procrastination, right? Because those come up from time to time, even now, even with 27 years over, they still come up sometimes, And then it says, can God, because you notice that he is capitalized, so I wrote God above he. Can you, God, now take can you now take all, I circled the wall, every one. And it's got a question mark, just like it's got a question mark in the other question. So I want you to ponder, really take these two questions in consideration. So the first question is, are you now ready to let God, the all-powerful God, remove from me all the things which you have admitted are objectionable? Are you ready to have him remove all? So I want you to think about, it's a question, right? It's got a question mark. You need to take this question into meditation, right? Are you complete willingness? Are you ready for this total willingness? You know what it means to let go of something, right? Are you ready to let God remove from us? Remove. I always like to look at defect of character like this. It's like, you ever try to peel a sticker off of something? You got a sticker and you're trying to peel it off and remove it. And sometimes it's not difficult. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's as easy and it comes off really good. And other times it's just tears and then you got scrape. That's what I think like sometimes when God's removing a defect of character and he's scraping, he's got to work a little hard because I'm still holding on to, right? I got this attachment. I like to think of step 6 as I'm willing, I'm ready. I have this ready and willingness to let go without attachment. Without attachment. When I got attachment, it's like that sticker and it's not coming off very well, right? I don't want to be that person that I was. That helps eliminate that attachment. Can God now take them all, everyone? Can he? Is he all powerful? That's why I put that word all powerful God, right? Can he now take everyone? Can he? Do you believe that he will? Do you believe that he will take everyone when you're ready to let go? It says if we still cling to something, if I still cling to something, I will not let go. I ask God to help me be willing. And I just wrote after willing to change, right? I'm asking God, ask God to help me be willing to change and let go. I like to think of letting go. What does it mean to let go of something? It means not to struggle, right? I'm not like the sticker trying to get it out. I'm not struggling, right? I'm just letting it go. Remember how we did that thing way back? I don't know, probably only one that remember was Sean, but you remember, I was thinking of a couple of times I have people write the word alcoholism on a piece of paper. We put it in I got a shredder in my house here. I shred it. There's no take backs, man. I can't take it back. I shredded it. I did not want it. What do I do with stuff I don't want? I throw it away or I give it away. I give it away or I throw it away. Again, objectionable is something I don't want. Again, it's another surrender, but it's kind of like step 1, right? I want to get rid of this. I don't want to carry this. I don't want to be like this, right? So again, I made a list. And what did I do with the list? I put it in a shredder. That's what I did. I put it in a shredder and I shredded it up. And I said, I'm not going to be this person anymore with God's help because God is all powerful, right? It doesn't matter what you believe in, whether you call it God or not. I don't think that matters. What matters is that you believe in that. And when you believe in it, it's that powerful. So again, I want you to ponder that first question. Are you ready to let God remove from you all the things that you admitted that you don't want anymore? And then the other question is, can he? Can he? Can God now take every one of them? Can God take every one of them? I wanted to reflect here for a second. I went back to page 60 on the ABCs, right? And I'm just reflecting here on a second on C. And C says that God could and would if he was sought. And would. He could and would. If I search out for him, right? He could and would. So now I'm at step 6. Can he now take them all? And that C is he could and would. If he stopped, if I search after him, if I seek for him, if I seek that, right? Again, letting go requires I'm not struggling, which means there's no attachment, right? There's no more attachment to that. It requires great awareness of yourself. It requires to stop struggling. It also requires that we acknowledge that we need help. I can't do this by myself. I can't wish my defects of character away or want them any more than anything else, right? wish or try on my own power, right? I got to acknowledge here that I need God's help. I need my Creator's help, or whatever it is that you believe in. And I need help. I can't do this by myself. So even though I'm ready and I'm willing to let go, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden they're going to be gone, right? It says, can God now take them all, everyone? So when I throw them away and I don't want them and I'm throwing them away, God's just going to take them. Hope I covered that pretty well so far. Are you ready? Are you ready to have your defects removed? Remember how I always talk about in step 4, how in resentment, I got all these different character roles that I play? I don't know if you guys remember that in step 4, I was talked about the character roles, right? And we had lots of them, lots of character roles. We listed them on from page 61, right? And even a couple on 62. For me, I came up with like 18 of them or something like that, you know, that I would play. A default character, but there was good characters in there. On top of page 61, there was some good characters. Kind, generous, right? I was going to see if I could find it real quick. Yeah, it was, it may be kind, considerate, patient, generous, even modest and self-sacrificing. Those are good qualities. Those are good characters to have, right? I would like to think that those are the character roles that God wants me to play. To be kind, to be considerate, right? Because I know what it's like not to be kind and do things on purpose to hurt people. I know what it's like to be inconsiderate, right? I know what it's like to not be self-sacrificing and do stuff for others, right? So now I'm going to do those. Those good qualities are going to rise to the surface as I get rid of these bad qualities, right? So I'm asking God to remove these character defects. So I'm asking God to remove these characters. All these different characters that I used to play, I would assign myself. I'm asking God to remove those. And I'm not in the world to play the role that He is. I'm in the world to play the role that He assigns. And some of those roles are going to be, okay, I need to be kind to somebody even when somebody's not kind to me. Right? I got to live by example. I've done that so many times. I didn't want to. And I did it anyway because that was just the right thing to do and not fight. Right? Doesn't in step 10 talks about we have ceased fighting anything and everyone. You know? Now, I'm stepping a step ahead, but it comes into play here, especially if you've been through this process before. You know, to have a new experience with this whole step 6. So are you ready to have your defects removed? All of them. All of those roles I assigned myself. I already know what they all are. Now all of a sudden, God's going to take them away because I don't want to play any of them. I don't want to be a producer of confusion rather than harmony. Right? I don't want people to retaliate against me because of my actions. Then I got to always keep looking over my back, right? But I'd rather play the role being kind, self-sacrificing, generous, right? Considerate. Can God remove them all? That's a huge question to kind of take into meditation and really ponder. There's 2 questions on that whole step 6. 2 questions to think about, right? Does God really have your permission to take them away? Again, I love these consideration questions where I really consider this and think about this. Does God really have your permission? And then does God really have the power to take them away? And then will God remove them all? Are you willing to have God remove your defects, your motives, your behavior, and maybe some of your old beliefs, your attitudes, maybe even some of your values that are not valuable anymore? Are you really ready I have a step 6 prayer. I'm going to read it to you. God, I am entirely ready and willing to have you remove all of my defects, my character defects. Please open up my mind. Help me raise my eyes toward the ideal character. And keep me ready and willing to walk in that direction. Amen. Anybody have any questions so far? I got a couple of more questions in step 6 that I want you to consider. There's 7 questions I want you to consider with step 6. I hope only 6 lines in here, right? Only 6 lines in the book. So you got to kind of expand upon that and make it a little bit more. To me, step 6 is a huge step, even though it's the smallest step in the book. So I got some, I want you to consider these in prayer or meditation. And write out your answers to these questions, all right? So the first one is, what is the most prominent obstacle you use to shut out the sunlight of the Spirit? What is the most prominent obstacle you use to shut out the sunlight of the Spirit? Basically, what's the biggest block? What's your biggest block in that way to having that relationship with that power? And then the second question is, how is that block, manifested in thoughts, attitudes, feelings, emotions, behavior, and activities? So how is that block, the obstacle, the most prominent one, manifested in thoughts, attitudes, feelings, emotions, behaviors, and activities? How is it manifested in all of those? Three, what is its source? What is its source? Four, what purpose does it serve? Five, what is its value in me? By holding on to it, right? What is the value? What is its value to me? Six, is it a compensation for a need? Is it a compensation for a need or deficiency I perceive I have? Is it a compensation for a need or a deficiency I perceive I have. Think about it when you're holding on to something, right? Remember, it says if we cling to something, we won't let go. Seven is a big one. What do I fear might happen if I let go of this behavior? This behavior, this attitude. This motive, behavior, attitude, maybe a belief, maybe it's something you value. What do I fear might happen if I let go of this? What do I fear if I stop doing it? I actually got 3 more questions. How does this behavior or attitude protect me from pain? Don't we kind of hold on to things for protection sometimes? Like when I'm angry Nobody's going to come near me because no one's going to hurt me anymore because I am pushing everybody away, right? So does this behavior protect me from pain? What feelings, which would be number, I think, 9, what feelings does this behavior help me avoid? Again, I can go back on that being angry and pushing everybody away because I don't want to feel lonely. So I'm doing the opposite and I'm making myself alone, even though that's not what I want to be or do. So what feelings does this behavior help me avoid? I think there's 10. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. One more, 11. Am I really ready and willing to have it removed? Am I really ready and willing to have it removed? If not, am I willing to pray for the willingness? Good questions to ponder in meditation for step 6. Could you send me these handouts, people? Handouts?
No, the sheets and stuff. The stuff. Yeah.
You mean the questions?
Yeah.
So the 2 questions are in the book, and I really think that those really are really what I'm focusing on with these questions, with these 11 questions. I'm just branching them all the way out and expanding on them a bit more so you could take it in meditation and really, really have just a good experience with step 6. I can do that. I can send you the questions. If anybody else didn't write all the questions out, let me know what question number and I can give it to you again. If anybody wants that prayer, let me know. Step 5 is about being totally transparent, isn't it? It's being totally transparent. I got to be totally transparent because it says I got to be honest. And that's what honest is being transparent, right? Again, that kind of goes along with the prep for step 6 is being transparent so I can help come up with a list. If I'm not transparent, I'm not honest. You guys got any questions? Spent almost an hour on step 6. I mean, I had to review some stuff in 5 and just did a review a little bit there quickly, talked about the foundation stones because it's still that prep. I just wanted to do a little bit more of that prep work, bring us going into step 6. And then I really just expanded upon step 6 a bit more. Gave you a lot of questions to ponder in meditation for consideration. I want you to, if you could answer these questions by next week. It gives you a whole week of consideration in meditation to really come up with some really good answers. Now, I'm not going to go over the answers with you, but I want you to answer those questions within a week. That gives you lots of time to sit in meditation, to go over those and come up with some really good answers, because you need to have the answers before we can go into 7. Correct? You need to have those answers before going into 7. Okay? In 7, I'm probably going to do something similar to what I did in 6. Have some more questions and things like that, and a little bit more things to consider. And we'll probably do the prayer together for sure. But I really wanted to expand upon each one of these steps so you can all have a new experience. If you've been through this before, if you haven't been through this before, you're just going to have an amazing experience. So hopefully, I know Ray, you just recently just did this, and I hope that I kind of expanded upon what Sean was able to do with you, and you're able to kind of have a more. I think this week you'll be able to have more of an experience of step 6 and really experience that.
Yes, thank you. Because I was at the point with Sean where as a kind of homework I was doing meditation, so I have extra questions to contemplate during that. That's really good. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah. I'm just open this up now for anybody that wanted to share anything or before we wrap it up. I was going to do 7, but I think that I spent a lot more time on 6 that I felt like it was really needed, to really have a new experience with that. And I'll just go over next week. I'll just do 7.
I think the letting go thing, right? I think I can let go of most. I know there's about 2 I'm going to struggle a bit more with. And I've got to meditate on why that is. And as you just said, Brian, if I am still struggling with that, then pray for my higher power to work on the willingness to let it go. Because I do know in here, I need to let all this shit go. Excuse me for swearing. I suppose it relates to that question also of what does it do for you? What role does it serve? I'm thinking of anger actually.
Value. What's the value?
Yeah. And it's self-protective, but it's also destructive. So it's about kind of reassessing, what the value of that is to me and people around me.
I'm going to show you all something. You ready?
Oh, not the magnifying glass. Finally.
Remember, I was searching for the last couple of weeks. So, this is all I am is a guide. It's all the sponsor is a guide. And I'm just going to take this magnifying glass so you can kind of look at yourself on the inside. So I hope I was able to do that by doing a step, taking you through step 6. I hope I was able to take the magnifying glass out and help you look into that magnifying glass and see within yourself and help you see your truth. Because that's the whole point of the magnifying glass, is by I'm holding it so you can look through it. It's not about me discovering my truth. It's about you discovering your truth. And the other thing I want to say too is when you don't want something, objectionable means unwanted. When you don't want something, what do you do with it? You can write down that question if you want. What do you do with something you don't want? And I can just
think it's...
Go ahead, Sean.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, like, for me, those questions have just opened up a whole different experience on step 6, because like you were saying, what purpose do they serve if there is anything, and it's particularly when we first went through the work, and some things that I was doing that took me a while to be rid of, but praying for the willingness, if I'm not willing to let go of something through what it protects itself, but I find it objectionable and it's never been purposeful in my life, have I really, really, really prayed for the willingness to let that go? And the answer, if I'm being honest, is I have not given it that much detail, that much thought, not to that level anyway, which brings about a whole new experience with meditation and everything that I find, even the little small things like I spoke about last week about, looking at, in my ideal, like looking at women and all these little things about when I'm at work and, the guys are talking and I get into talking with the guys and I don't really want to do that, that's given, these questions have just given me an idea of, okay, well, get that magnifying glass and have a closer look at actually why I don't want them. And the question there for me is, what purpose does it serve? For me to fit in? Well, I'm not that person that I used to be anymore. I don't need to fit in like that anymore by being that person, because being me is fine, So yeah, it's just those questions, mate. For me, was just a whole different. It's just going to bring about a whole different experience on as I go through step 6 and as I take others through step 6 as well. But particularly, in this next week, I will take those in meditation and have a good look at and have a good dig deep. Have some real good quiet time. And makes that more powerful step 7, doesn't it? Makes a more willing step 7. So thank you, Brian, for being so thorough.
You're welcome. I hope I was able to bring something new. A whole bunch of every time I kind of hope I'm always like, so here's the thing. The reason why I always bring something new is the answer is always easy. And the answer is that since the last year we've done some work, or since 6 months ago, or whatever it's been since we've done some work, I've had new experiences. I got a new sponsor. I've had new experiences. I've been to other workshops and I was like, oh, wow. And now I want to share that. I've done that work and now I've had an experience with it, a new experience with step 6. And I want to share that with you because I want to always keep an open mind so I can always stay teachable, so I can always keep learning new things. Because if I didn't, then wouldn't it get boring after a while? But doing the same thing over and over and over. Now I'm going to go through step 1 again, and then step 2 again. I believe, and to me, honestly, I would just get bored if I didn't have new experiences. And that's why I do that set aside prayer. Let me put aside what I think I know, even about conceptions and other beliefs, so I can have an open mind and a new experience. I find that for me, if I approach these steps, these are a spiritual program of action. Isn't that what it says, right? Completely give yourself to this program. It's a spiritual program of action. I don't know how many times it says it in the book. Spiritual program. It's easy to let up on a spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. It says it in step 10 as word for word, right? So it's a spiritual program of action. So if I approach it that way, and I end up having questions from each step that I got to take consideration into meditation to make each one that much more spiritual in its nature. And then I have a new experience. Every time I do that, it doesn't matter how many years you got or how many months you got, you're going to have an experience. And then when you do it later on, even the same questions, you're going to have a different experience because you're going to have a clearer mind and you're going to have a new perspective. Because the longer that I have a different perspective sometimes.
And the experience for me will be with those questions, but obviously the experience that you get is in meditation, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the experience that I'm really looking forward to taking and getting out of this. That in meditation is the only place I'm going to get it. So, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Not only will the experience be in the meditation, the experience is also going to be in writing down the answers. And then reflecting upon your answers, because you got a whole week to work on it. Reflect upon your answers, because then you might add more to that, to each answer if you're reflecting upon the answers too. You got some time to really, really, sit with this for a bit. I think it's not so important as it is the question. I mean, I don't think it's important so much as the answer as it is the question and sitting with the question for a while. Really contemplating and pondering the question. What does that really mean to you? It's your program. This is all about you in a sense. It ain't about me, right? It's about you and building. This helps me by taking these questions into meditation and consider them all and really sitting in meditation. That really helps me improve my conscious contact, right? It improves my relationship. I like to always look at it as my relationship with that power. And what's the power? It's the power of God. It's the power of God that changes. It's not necessarily God. It's the power of God that changes people's lives. So I want to have a relationship, not so much with God as I do with that power, because I can feel that power within me, right? I can feel it flowing through me, in me, out of me. I can just feel it. When I'm in that presence, man, I just feel it, right? And that makes it real. Now, it's some kind of energy, it's some kind of power. I can't define or comprehend it because it's beyond this. But I definitely feel it when I'm in the middle of that and I'm in meditation. I feel almost like safe, protected, you know, I don't want to say undestructible. That's not how I feel. But I feel like nobody can hurt me there. Nobody can touch me. I'm in this very spiritual place when I'm in meditation. I go within myself. They call that I've entered the world of the spirit. I like to think of that. Enter the world of the spirit is someplace I go within myself in meditation. Safe, protected. Nobody can go there. No one's ever been there. I've never let anyone in there. It's my place that I go to, you know? And I sit with that power. And I learn to have a relationship and a conscious contact with that power. And I absolutely love improving that conscious contact and working on that. Because it says something in the book. The only thing that's going to come between you and a drink is your relationship with that power. And if your relationship with that power is weak, it's easy. It's easy to go back and just have the buckets and just be like, fuck it, right? Because that would mean you're not spiritually fit. It's easy to let up and not be spiritually fit, you know? So I always want to try to be as spiritually fit as possible. I was talking the other day about somebody about being spiritually fit. And I said, you know, for the most part, I'm pretty peaceful. Pretty peaceful, calm. I don't struggle. Pretty spiritual. But I have these moments. And it can be just like that. Where I can become not spiritually fit. And all someone's got to do, I drive a big ass truck. Everybody knows that. I drive a big ass truck and it weighs a lot. And if somebody cuts me off and slams on the brakes, I am no longer spiritually fit. It just takes that quick. And I'm having Tourette syndrome. And I'm yelling at them and I'm flipping them off. And I am not an example of what sobriety would be like. But I let you know these things because I tell people, don't put me on a pedestal. I'm not any better than anyone else. The only thing I've done in 27 years is not drink. I made lots of mistakes, but I tried to learn from all of those. I still get upset just like anybody else. Like I said, I flipped somebody off yesterday. You know? And the reason why I flipped him off is because I'm on a 2-lane highway and he's passing somebody in the other lane and he's coming straight at me. And he's going to die if he doesn't get out of the way. And so I just gave him 2 middle fingers. 2. I took my hands off the wheel and just like, you know? Because I thought that was the last thing he was going to see. And then he swerved out of the way, you know? So, you know.
I think that having these experiences, driving really makes you get really close to God. I really want to think about, I was really, talking about that power earlier, you know, and I was thinking about a question: is it more important to have a conscious contact or a conscious connection with that power, or is it more important to define or comprehend what that power is? Because I've come to a place where I just accepted that there was something that I didn't even have to comprehend or define it anymore, because I spent so much time trying to do that, and I don't have to anymore. I mean, it's all about tapping into that power, gaining access to that power that changes people's lives. Let's close this with a minute of silent meditation for each one of us to remember the still sick and suffering alcoholic. And we're going to start that moment right now.